Hi there, my name is Michelle Fitzgerald and I'm the training director of the Sensor Learning Center, which focuses on teaching people about intuition and how to work with subtle energies. Today we're going to talk about a subtle energy category, a number of subtle energy categories that affect sleep. And the title of today's program is Subtle Energy Strategies to Help You Sleep Better. The reason I'm choosing this particular topic today is that the sleep problem has just become a gargantuan problem worldwide. The latest statistic that I read was that last year $32 billion was spent on things that help people sleep. And in just the last 5 years, there's been a 31%, just in the United States, there's been a 31% increase in over-the-counter purchases of over-the-counter products that help people sleep. So this is a really rapidly growing problem. And if you're someone who has been suffering from sleep deprivation, you know how challenging that can be. Not getting quality sleep can lead to depression. It can increase heart disease. It can increase the likelihood of diabetes, hypertension. There's just so many different things that can happen if you're not letting the body or getting the body to rest successfully every night. So there's a lot of stuff on the internet that you can access because the problem is so big at this point. Lots of great ideas on things you can implement, standard strategies that will help you, may help you. I'm going to talk about some different strategies that you're probably not going to read on the internet. And we're going to start with the category of electromagnetic fields in the environment, especially radio wave activity in the environment. One thing that you might want to consider about your sleep situation if you are having trouble is the amount of radio frequency driven technology that you have brought into your home in, let's say, the last 5 to 8 years. You probably have a cell phone. You may have a wireless internet system with a Wi-Fi router. You may have Wi-Fi in your home. You might have games that work on radio frequencies. You might have alarm systems that work on radio frequencies. There are just so many things today that generate radio wave signals that are passing through your space every day. And we simply were not exposed, none of us were exposed to this level of radio frequency bombardment, basically, in the past. If we go back again, even most of us, even 5 years, 10 years ago, we were not being exposed to nearly as much radio frequency stuff as we are today. So what do you do about that? Radio frequencies running through the space can definitely disrupt sleep. You might be someone who has a system that just tolerates it really well if you're watching this, and maybe that's not your problem. Maybe you sleep right through the bombardment. This is an example of what typically the type of high-frequency radio waves that are moving through your space look like. And if that looks jangly, it's because it is jangly, and it's going to jangle all your cells. But the fact is, some people are more susceptible to actually feeling that and being disturbed by that than others. But if you're not sleeping well, consider this. Try turning off your cell phone at night. Make sure it's not near you and turn it off. The range on those phones is usually at least 50 feet. If you've got a smartphone, it's got Bluetooth in it, and it's radiating. It's like a little miniature radio station in your home that's just radiating 360 degrees, 24/7 if you're not turning that thing off. Your Wi-Fi system, if you are using wireless internet, turn off the Wi-Fi routers, not just the computer. You might have a wireless computer. Turn that off too, because it can also be sending out a pretty significant signal, radio frequency signals from wherever you've got the computer situated. And if that's passing through, if that's fairly close to where you sleep, that could be a problem. But the Wi-Fi router is often the biggest problem, the Wi-Fi modem or router. So turn that off. It doesn't work just to turn off the computer. You've actually got to turn off the power to the router to get the signals to stop being emitted from that little antenna that's inside that router box. Think of other things you might have in the space that could be, again, that are radio frequency driven that might be easy enough for you to turn off. I've had many students and clients with their Wi-Fi systems, they'll just set up a timer the important part, let me back up, is to let your body rest. So you may need to use your computer during the daytime, fine, but you don't need to use it when you're sleeping. So set up a timer that just turns off the power to the outlet that you have the router plugged into, and have the power turn off at a certain time, like midnight, and then you can have it just automatically turn on again, like at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 or whatever time it is that you get up. And that way your body's getting a little bit of a rest period and you don't even have to think about it. I'm going to tell you kind of a dramatic story that might motivate you if you are someone that is having sleep problems and you do have wireless stuff in your environment, a lot of wireless stuff in your environment that wasn't there years ago. My next door neighbor developed breast cancer, and she went through the standard treatment. She had surgery, she had chemotherapy. And I met her out in the street one day, not long after she had finished her round of chemotherapy, and she just really did not look well. And I said, gosh, how's everything going? And she said, well, everything has gone okay up to this point, but she says, I am just so exhausted. She says, I am not sleeping. Now, I knew that sleep problems had been a problem for this gal even before she was diagnosed with breast cancer and ended up having the treatment for that. I had been over to their home for dinner a number of times, and I'm someone who's very sensitive to electromagnetic fields in the environment, no matter what they're caused from. I'm particularly sensitive to radio frequencies. I can feel them. If someone's got a Wi-Fi system in their house, I feel it sometimes outside the front door. And I had noticed that they had very strong radio frequency activity in their home. And I suggested on one of my dinners there, I said, you know, I think you guys should consider turning off your wireless stuff. And there's a lot of radio frequency activity in this home. And I said, that's probably not good for you or your dogs. The dogs had developed arthritis way more rapidly than dogs should develop situations like that. And other minor problems were occurring. Anyway, they just kind of chalked it off, thought I was kind of kooky, and, you know, that's okay. Went about their business, I went about my business, and here we are a while later, and this gal's gone through the breast cancer thing. And I said, you know, I know I mentioned to you before about the radio frequency stuff in your home, and, you know, there's just a lot of research that's come out that indicate in the last even 5 years that indicate that could be very problematic to health and to the body's ability to heal and to sleep. So you might want to just consider turning off you know, your Wi-Fi router, your alarm system, that type of stuff. Whatever you can think of to turn off and that you're willing to turn off, just do that. Do an experiment just for 1 week. It certainly can't harm you to do it. Just do an experiment and see if you notice any difference. Well, she was so scared at that point because she was literally scared of dying. Not from the radio frequency stuff, but because she knew she wasn't sleeping and she was afraid her body wasn't going to be able to recover from not only the cancer, but the cancer therapy. And so she went into the home. She told her husband, let's just do this experiment. They did it that night. They turned off everything they could think of. They turned off absolutely everything that generated radio frequencies. The next morning, she was on my doorstep to report that she had slept soundly through the night like a baby. She couldn't even remember the last time she had slept like that. And she just wanted to let me know. And maybe it did have something to do with the radio frequencies. So they continued to do that, continued to do that, continued to do that night after night, and she continued to sleep well. So I tell that story, and she, by the way, recovered very successfully from the cancer and recovered fully from the strain that the cancer treatment therapy can put on a person. She's doing just fine today. So, but they're still managing their radio equipment in their house. So I tell you that story kind of to scare you a little bit and hope that it will motivate you to give this a little bit of thought. It doesn't harm you in any way. It doesn't deplete any of your life pleasures to just turn conveniences, to just turn off your wireless equipment at night and give your body a little bit of a chance to rest. You may notice that on a much bigger, not just a cellular level, but on a much bigger conscious level, that you're actually sleeping through the night. Now, we're going to talk in the next couple of videos about a couple of other subtle energy topics. The underground water and how energy fields above underground water, if you have any, like underground streams running under your house, or if you have any piping running under the house. Amazingly, interestingly, there's a subtle energy field that runs right along with the water that can be disruptive to sleep. And we're going to talk about the direction that you face when you sleep. A lot of people have found that just by altering directions that they sleep better. So we'll talk a little bit about what's typically the preferred direction for best sleep and how you can figure out what your best direction is, because one package doesn't match all. So we'll talk about how to figure out what the very best direction for you to sleep in is. And anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Turn off the wireless stuff.